What are your boundaries? Do you have them set in place? People know where they are. They're like goalposts, and they very rarely get crossed. They very rarely come across those boundaries because you've set them in place and you've told people when they can come in, when they can't come in, and you've got also boundaries for yourself. So, hi, I'm Lucy. I'm a high flow coach and mentor, and this is one of the things that's going to help you to be more productive. Now, when you think about boundaries, you might think you've got to say no to things, and you're going to be absolutely right. And this can be something that people find really tricky because there seems to be I don't really want to say no. I'd rather accommodate someone and say yes. And so you're not able to say no. You're saying yes, and then you're going, oh gosh, I wish I'd said no. I really wanted to say no. You could be one of those that are going, I'm going to say no. If somebody asks me something, I'm just going to tell them to F off and leave me alone. And that's attacking, and it's not a very nice way to say no. So there are different ways you can say no. And then there's a third way where you're really not making any kind of commitment at all. You're avoiding saying no, but you're also avoiding saying yes. And you're kind of sitting on the fence. And so you don't say either. And so now the person doesn't really know if you said yes or no. You know you haven't really said yes or no, and it kind of messing with your mind. And so those three are the things that are not good ways of saying no. So the very first step would be to set your own boundaries for you. When you're going to do something, what it is, and when you're going to stop doing that thing, and having a kind of stopping point and knowing that when you do something, i.e., when you switch the computer off, that is the end of your work time. When you go and have a shower, that is the beginning of your work time. And so you've got those boundaries set in place, and you go, I understand, this is when I'm starting, this is when I'm finishing. Then the thing to do is have a conversation with anybody else that's significant in your workplace or at home if you're working from home, and they know when they can disturb you. They know when they can offer something and come in. And if you're doing it in sets of time, so time blocks, then you can let them know in 10 minutes they can ask that question. All right. So you can say, look, 10 minutes, and then you can come and talk to me. But they know that that's a boundary. They know that you're going to be focused, and that when you hold your hands in the air, that's the amount of time until they can actually come in and disturb you. So those boundaries are really important. So have those conversations, firstly with yourself to set your own boundaries, and then secondly with the people around you that are in your space. There are different ways to say no, and I'm just going to touch on a couple of them, but I would suggest there are at least 4. And one of those ways, I actually work with a team member, and a way of saying no is actually, you can present it as, wow, I'm so pleased that you've asked me. That sounds absolutely amazing. However, at the moment, I've got a lot on my plate. So now you are letting them know that you've got priorities and other commitments. I really want to see that commitment through. And so what I would suggest is there's another person that can do the job instead of me. Now, what you're doing there is you're saying you've got priorities and you're committed to doing things. So actually they'll go, okay, I appreciate that. Now you're offering somebody else. So you're giving them another solution, somebody that they can go to, obviously, if you know somebody, and they can go to that person and ask the same question. So now you're not only giving them a solution, you're also saying no to them in a really nice way. You're also giving the other person the possibility of doing this job. And so you're explaining your priorities along the way. You're explaining your commitment to the priorities that you already have. Because if you say yes to that person and you mean no, you're now saying no to the priority that you had in the first place, or the commitment that you had in the first place. So one way or another, you're saying no, but it's far less mind-boggling to say no in a good way to that second commitment, because you want to finish off and complete what you've already got started and that's already on your plate. And then don't backtrack. Don't go backtracking on what you've just said, because that seems contradictory to what you've just put in place. So don't do that. The second way, and this is a really cool way to do it, is to have a rule book. So you have rules in place where you make your absolute commitment to that thing and you say, this is my rule for this thing. If this comes in, that's what I'm going to do every single time. And so you have little rules for yourself across the board for what you will do and what you won't do, for what you'll say yes to and what you'll say no to. So if that is part of your rule book, to say no to socializing midweek, that's what you've already set in your rule book. I'm not going to socialize midweek, not until Friday. So if somebody says there's an event happening, I'd love you to come to this party, whatever it is, you already know in your rule book that's going to be a no. So you just explain. You just literally say it. The thing is, I have this rule where I don't socialize in the week. So if it was a Friday, I'd love to come. But because it's a Wednesday, I'm going to have to say no. But thank you so much for inviting me. So there are really good ways to say no. As I say, there are other ways, and I go into those on my course, and I teach this in more depth so that you can really dig down deep on it. But for now, click on the next video that's coming up on screen to help you to take some steps towards more productivity and feeling less overwhelmed and less stressed. Thanks for watching. Take care.